The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Box Score Breakdown Show with your host, Neil Rochlani, and the one, the only Adrian Benjamins, coming to you on Friday, October 12th, breaking down the games from the 11th and then some from the 10th. Adrian, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great, Neil. This is the final Friday of the non-season. The next time I'll be talking to you on Friday, Neil, will be in the regular NBA season. It's here. I'm so excited, Neil. I know you and I got some big time drafts coming up this weekend. I'm so pumped, man. How excited are you?
It's crazy. It's coming up so quickly. Like I remember in the summertime thinking like it's so far away, like it's never gonna get here. And now I'm like, it's I can't believe it's close. I love this time of year, as a lot of us do. If you haven't done your draft yet, I guess most of you will be doing it this weekend. I have a couple to do myself, and perhaps some of these box scores can help us understand how to approach some of our drafts, at least some of these later picks or some things that are a little bit different than what the conventional wisdom is. Should we talk about any news and notes? Is there anything that happened in the NBA today? I think Jimmy Butler had a players only meeting. I have no idea what to say about that situation. Do you want to comment on Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Neil, just when you thought you've seen it all, I can't even wrap my head around what is going on right now in Minnesota with Jimmy Butler. It's just nuts, the stuff that is coming out of there with the whole practice, him beating the first team with the third team, him yelling at the owner, and this is just unreal, man. The NBA is fantastic, and I don't even know what to say, Neil. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I think I told you on one of the previous shows that I felt like what was going on with Jimmy and the Timberwolves was like at the point of no return. And there's no way we would see this guy on the team. And I just completely underestimated the craziness that is Jimmy Butler, man. This guy does not care about hurting anybody's feelings or about confrontation. He is just a madman. What do you think about this whole situation?
Well, I think stepping back, like the big picture, what I think is the NBA is becoming more and more like the WWE of sports leagues. Like it's just the personalities and who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, who's willing to take on those roles. It seems to be, I don't know. I'm sure the NBA loves this because it brings more attention to the league and it gets people, going to websites and listening to shows about the NBA. For me personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I know people love the drama of the NBA. I'm much more interested in the basketball game itself and what goes on the court. So I'm not a big believer in the drama off it, unless it's like funny and entertaining. And this, for me, doesn't really fall into that. So I don't know what to make of it. I like Butler as a player, though. I still have him ranked late first round, early second round, even though he's going much lower than that. So, and I think he's gonna be fine. I think he'll find a home. I think he'll have a great season. I don't know though. This is starting to make me wonder though. Do I want to draft him just from like a fun perspective? Does this change your opinion on him fantasy wise?
From a fantasy perspective, it doesn't really move the needle too much for me. Jimmy Butler, I got him in that second round area, and he's still right there for me. Cat, a lot of people bumped up Karl Anthony Towns because they figured no Jimmy there, his usage is going to go up. I think Cat is going to be fine whether Jimmy starts the season in Minnesota or whether Jimmy's not there. Cat's going to be great. So, from a fantasy perspective, doesn't change a lot for me. I think eventually Jimmy is going to get moved, and no matter where he goes, he's going to be, he's the alpha, as we're seeing right now. Nobody can stop him from being the alpha. Nobody. So we don't need to worry. Jimmy's going to be the number one guy no matter where he lands, and everything's going to be fine. Neil, I wanted to touch on a couple more things that I wrote down for news and notes wise. And one of the things I wanted to talk about that I find interesting, and it's coming from your hometown team, there's a lot of news that Jabari Parker, this last preseason game, he came off the bench. In practice today, he practiced with the second unit. Things are looking like he's not going to start. What do you think about that? And who do you think's the guy that's going to benefit? I kind of like Bobby Portis, but I'm not sure. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I was not aware that was going to happen. I assumed he was going to start, and I'm still not going to downgrade him too much. I think he's going to still get a lot of offensive usage and contribution in fantasy stats. I don't know who's going to benefit. Bobby Portis, I'm not a big fan of, so I'll be surprised if he's the starters. I don't know if they go smaller and put Justin Holiday out there. I'm not sure where they're going to go. That's a good question. I'd have to research it. I just now learned that earlier today. I think from a tweet by you actually. So I have not been following that very closely, but I have been targeting Parker late in my drafts, or like around the 9th or 10th round. And I still think he's safe. Does this change your opinion on him though, or his replacement?
I wasn't too big on Parker. He wasn't really a guy that I drafted anywhere, but I agree with you. I don't think it's going to change his fantasy outlook too much. Even if he's coming off the bench, he's going to be destroying second units from other teams, and he may be finishing the end of games with the first unit. So I think, I've watched quite a few Chicago Bulls preseason games, and yes, it's preseason, but they have looked atrocious on the defensive end. So I think this move might be them trying to improve on the defensive side, so that's what I think they're trying to do here. But I do agree with you. I think Parker's value is still going to be similar to what it was before. And I really like your take. It could definitely be Holiday as the guy. They've started him in the preseason at small forward, or we've seen him get minutes at the small forward spot. Parker was slated to play the small forward position, which was kind of strange because, in Milwaukee, he was predominantly a power forward. So anyways, it's a real interesting situation, and we'll see how it pans out. But I'm really curious to see if somebody can really take advantage of this situation. So I'm just keeping an eye on it. Neil, one other thing I wanted to touch on, and I listened to the show earlier, or from yesterday with you and Dan. You guys talked real briefly about George Hill getting the start in Cleveland. This really is throwing cold water for me on Colin Sexton, a guy that just goes really late in drafts, but as the starting point guard, I was really hoping he can carve out some late round value. We've seen some nice preseason games from Sexton, but if Sexton's going to come off the bench to George Hill to start the season, I think he's not going to have great value. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I wasn't big on Sexton coming in. I'm not really big on rookies that I don't think aren't guaranteed to get a lot of minutes. So I didn't know what his role was going to be coming in. And even the other day with 22 minutes, he didn't have a great night. He's not someone I'm targeting, although George Hill is someone I'm targeting late in drafts. He has proven before to be a top 100 player if he gets the minutes. And I don't see why he can't repeat that. I think Cleveland wants to win, so they're probably going to go with their veterans, a little more experienced. And I'm targeting Hill. Can I just circle back real quick to Chicago? Because I do want to say if I think you made a good point on Parker coming off the bench. I think two guys that could be speculative ads are Justin Holiday and, like you mentioned, Portis, since Markkanen's out now for a little while. So I would take both those guys late in drafts and maybe hold on to them for a month and then see how they're doing, or at least I shouldn't say a month. I should say like a week or so. And if they seem to be producing, just ride them until they don't no longer produce. Chicago's going to be a very offensive-friendly team this year. They're not going to play much defense, and they're going to shoot a lot of threes. And these guys could put up some great fantasy stats in the beginning of the season. So Two guys to watch on. Back to Cleveland, though. Yeah, I'm kind of avoiding Sexton and targeting George Hill, maybe in my last round.
I think there will be a point during the season when Cleveland's out of it. I'm really not expecting the Cavs to be very good. I think there'll be a point when they know, they're not going to contend for definitely not a title, maybe even not a playoff spot, where Colin Sexton will be the starting point guard. When that happens, I think he will put up some decent value, but you just can't count on him at the start of the season. I don't think he's going to really it's going to be very up and down. He's going to give us a lot of inconsistency. There's going to be games that probably aren't even usable. So this hurts his value quite a bit for me as far as where I have him on my draft board. All right, Neil, anything else from news and notes you want to touch on? Or I took some notes from yesterday's games that I wanted to get into. Are you ready to hear them?
I am so glad you are the prepared one of this tandem, because I have no notes. I just have a phone with box scores on it. So please indulge me with your insights.
So Wednesday we saw the premiere of Lonzo Ball. And, a little up and down. He has 7 points, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, which is really nice. 2 assists in 23 minutes. What was really nice is to see him connect with LeBron James. You see right off the bat, they got a little chemistry there, which is really great to see. Neil, how do you feel about Lonzo Ball this season?
I've always he has besides his percentages, which I know are two big things, free throw percent and field goal percent. Otherwise, he's a very good fantasy asset. He could finish really high if he could just shoot average percentages. And last night he did okay, 3 for 5. Only took 5 shots, but he made 3 of them. I didn't get to see the game, so I didn't really see what they looked like or what type of shots they were. But clearly, he is a very talented player. And if he gels with LeBron, I don't think it's he had 2 assists last night, but I still think he'll put up decent assists and rebounds and points and steals and blocks. And I would be willing to take him if he dropped to the mid-late rounds. If he dropped to like the 8th round, I probably would take him there. I probably won't take him before then, just because I don't like percentage killers, and he could be someone who does that again this year. Are you going to draft Lonzo? Are you targeting him?
The bad news is I am not targeting Lonzo anywhere. He's been off of my radar completely. I'm super scared of Rondo, Josh Hart. We know LeBron is going to handle the ball a lot. I've heard rumors that they could even have Ingram. He could be the guy. So I think we're going to see some up and down production from Lonzo, and just where he goes in drafts, I would rather take a shot on some other guy. So I've never drafted him once in all the mocks I've done. In every league, I probably will not own him this year. But now here's the positive thing. There was a lot of buzz this offseason that he added muscle, and we saw that a little bit last night, because he went to the hole a couple times, and last year he looked really tentative, or he'd get bumped off. Last night he went to the hole a couple times, finished at the rim, and you could see that added muscle that he put on kind of helped him finish at the rim. He's not as scared of that contact. So I really liked seeing that. So, and then the other thing, man, his defense was huge. I saw him pick some pockets, which led to fast breaks. I love that. 4 steals in this game. So, there are definitely some positives there. He does rebound really nice for a guard. So, I can understand why people do like Lonzo. Just for me, for right now, I'm not a Lonzo guy. All right, Neil, I want to stick on the Lakers. One more guy stood out to me that I want to get your thoughts on. What do you think of Brandon Ingram? 26 points. He shot 5 of 13, but was really interesting. He was 15 of 17 from the free throw line. Now, one of the knocks on him, one of the reasons why his value was not so great, was that he was really bad from the line. I mean, Neil, he went to the line 17 times and made 15 of them. So if he can improve here at the line, I think we're going to see a drastic improvement on his value. What do you think of Ingram this season?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in his game as just a real life basketball player, and I'm glad it's starting to translate a little more with fantasy. I was a little higher on him this year because I thought he took such a huge leap from year 1 to year 2. Like in year 1, he didn't look like he belonged in the NBA. Year 2, he was looking like he had the possibility of being an all-star. And then this year, who knows what he's going to look like. So far in preseason, he's been phenomenal. I really like the fact that 15 out of 17, that's not a fluke. Like, if you're a bad free throw shooter, you don't go 15 for 17. Maybe you go 4 for 5 or something, or 3 for 4 one night, but 15 for 17, you've got to be a pretty solid at the free throw line. So I am expecting his free throw percentage to get very reasonable this year. If not, maybe it's not a positive, but I don't think it's going to be a big negative anymore. And he's going like, I don't know where his ADP is, but I was seeing him around 100 in the beginning of mock season drafts, and I think that's a steal if you can get him there now. I'm not sure where I would take him, but certainly I would target him before Lonzo.
I agree completely. I've seen him go pretty late in drafts, and he wasn't a guy I was targeting, but that's changing for me. If I'm in the middle of a draft and he's there in those like middle later rounds, I might take a shot on him. And, I think he's really going to benefit from the easier looks that he's going to get from LeBron, from Rondo. Lakers now have all these guys that can facilitate. And I think Ingram's going to really benefit. I think he's going to get nicer looks. And he's been really aggressive in the preseason. So I think we're going to see vast improvement from Ingram. All right, Neil, there's just a couple more guys I want to talk about from yesterday, and one of them is a big man to get very, very late. I talked about him before as maybe someone to watch. Now he's like, for me, final round, Alex Len. Neil, he had 16 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 threes. He did play 36 minutes. It was a preseason game against the Spurs. But here's the thing, Neil. He's going to start. Dedmon has had injuries. Who knows when Dedmon's going to be ready? Alex Len is going to have an opportunity to steal this starting center gig from Dedmon. I'm talking about this guy sometimes does not even get drafted in leagues. I am taking a shot on him in the final round, my last pick. I feel like I'm always one big man short when I'm done with a lot of my drafts. What do you think about it?
Yeah, are you sure about the starting role? Is Dedmon out for a while? Or do we know that officially?
Dedmon currently has an ankle injury, which is why we haven't seen very much of him during the preseason. From what I'm hearing, Len will begin the season as the starting center. I think this makes him worth a pick in your last round. One of the big knocks on Len is just he's never been healthy. Physically, he's looked really good in the preseason. So I'm willing to take a shot, man. The draft price is so cheap that why not? If it pans out, you just struck gold if it pans out, and if it doesn't, you drop him and you pick up the first hot free agent to grab. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, well, I mean, I like the idea of approaching the last couple rounds with just guys that could pop, and he is certainly in that category. We saw when he got starting minutes in Phoenix, he was, people would pick him up and play him because he got points, he got rebounds, he got blocks, good percentages, or good at least field goal percentage. And he hit 2 threes last night. I had no idea he was shooting threes. He's
made 5 threes in all of preseason. He's really showing improved range on his shot. I like what I've seen, Neil. I mean, Neil, you and I had talked about it on a previous show. For me, it was just like, oh, Alex Len's been interesting. Let's keep an eye on him. I'm ready to straight say, grab this guy with your final pick, and let's see what happens now.
I think it's great. He still wasn't on my radar for drafting, and before I go to my drafts this weekend, I'm gonna try to do some more research. Yes. I definitely think if he's starting, and especially if you have a team where like you drop guys at the end, like you play a guy for a week and then you're like, okay, maybe he's no longer valuable. If he's starting for the first week, he will be valuable. He will add a contribution to your team.
So next guy I want to talk about is Derek White. You know, when DeJounte Murray first went down, we said on the show that, hey, you deep leaguers, go ahead and grab Derek White. Be proactive. Let's see what happens. Shallow standard leaguers, take a wait and see approach. Had a really nice game on Wednesday. 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 1 3-pointer. It's already been confirmed that the Spurs are not going to bring it. They're not bringing in any other point guard. Popovich has said Derek White will be the starting point guard for this team. Now, I feel like his value is a little bit capped because DeMar DeRozan is going to be the primary ball handler, playmaker. But I think Derek White can provide some nice late round value, you know, maybe in that like 100 to 120 range. I've already picked him up in any league that's like 12 teams or deeper. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think he's definitely worth a pickup to see what happens with him. He's going to have a starting role. Like you said, last year when he had minutes, he produced pretty well. He's someone that has gotten the trust of the organization. They're not trading for another point guard. I think he's very much relevant in fantasy leagues and worth a flyer on it. If not, you know, maybe a guy he could play all season if he's healthy and producing. I liked how you were ahead of the curve on that. Like last time, I was holding off, and like you said, or like we know in fantasy, you can't sometimes wait and see because everyone is. By the time you know for certain that a guy's good, he's already gone. So, good idea, like you said last week, to pick him up. You have any more guys from last night? I have a couple guys I wanted to touch on.
Yes, one last guy, and let's go to your list. We only got 3 games tonight, so I feel like we could spend some time on this. My last guy from last night I want to touch on, Jonathan Isaac. Looked really good. 15 points, 4 of 5 from the field, 5 of 6 from the line, 8 boards, 2 steals, a block, 2 3-pointers. Neil, I was ecstatic to see this. You know, I know there's been a lot of hype about Jonathan Isaac. We're super excited about him because of the defensive potential. Could be a guy that provides steals, blocks, but Neil, one of the reasons why I was a little hesitant about him is I haven't seen the offensive side from him yet. So I didn't think he was going to be as strong as everyone was saying without bringing the offense. I am ecstatic that we finally saw him break out offensively. And Neil, I already drafted him in the league that we drafted last week. I'm hoping to get him in my leagues, in my drafts this weekend. What are your thoughts on Isaac?
I really like Isaac this year. I think he could have a breakout year and be someone who wins your leagues. You know, if you take him late and then all of a sudden he jumps into the top 50, I think he has that potential this year. I'm not saying he's definitely going to do it, but he has that potential, and he started last night. Do we know if that's his role going forward? He's going to start. I only played 17 minutes in all those stats. I would just like to confirm that he's going to get that role, and if he does, yeah, I think I would draft him, take a flyer on him, and probably the mid rounds even, because this guy has huge potential.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to start. He's so versatile. We've seen the Magic play him at the 3. He can play the 4. I think there's times he can even play shooting guard. So he's got so much versatility. I see him starting at the 3 next to Aaron Gordon, and then Vucevic at the 5. So I am expecting him to start. But, you know, they have so many interchangeable players on that team. We're going to see some real interesting things with that lineup. But, man, go get him, you guys. Draft him. He's usually like an early mid-round guy. Sometimes I've seen him go in the middle rounds. Pounce on him. All right, Neil, who do you got?
Oh, I'll just say one more thing is I forget who the coach is. I think it's Steve Clifford from Charlotte who came over to Orlando. He's a big, you got to play defense to play, and Isaac can play defense. So he's going to be in favor. The coach is going to like him. I have a feeling. So he should get the minutes. The 2 guys I wanted to talk about Well, one is an obvious guy, but I want to see where would you rank him? And that's Kawhi Leonard. Played last night in Toronto. Played 31 minutes. Everything we see from him is that he's healthy. Did not shoot great last night, but it was 11 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. The kind of sort of stuff in the stat sheet that we're used to from Kawhi, the guy who was made him a first round draft pick every year for the last couple, 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know how long it's been. Are you ready to put Kawhi back in the first round?
Whoo, man, this is a great question. And all off season, I've been like not touching Kawhi. I hate the risk, especially how early he needs to go. In the off season during the summer, I was saying I need to see him do it in the preseason. And he did it in the preseason, man. He looked really good. Still maybe not the old Kawhi exactly, but hey, that's to be expected, man. He's coming off from a long layoff. Look, for me, I can understand taking a shot at him at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. In fact, Neil, I think a real interesting situation I'm going to find myself in is I believe I have pick 12 in a draft coming up, and I'm real curious about going off of my plan and getting like a Kawhi Paul George combo right there in that. I mean, how do you pass that up, right? Like, you got 2 guys who could potentially be first rounders right there, right? What do you think about that?
Adrian, you're blowing my mind because I don't expect you to go. I want you to go point guard, center, point guard, center, point guard.
I know.
What happened? 2 wings. What are you
I
doing?
know, Neil. I'm telling you, man, I'm losing sleep over this because my plan right there is to go guards or centers because I know. But Neil, how do you pass up on 2 guys who could potentially be first round? It's crazy. You and Dan talked on the show about that struggle between sticking to your plan, maybe reaching on the guy you want, or going for the value. And I'm starting to feel that struggle, Neil. And man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know, man.
Well, we'll find out when if I'm in that draft with. No, I'm not in that draft with you. We're in different leagues. So anyway, that won't happen. Let me know what you decide because I am now putting Kawhi in the first round. I just think I don't know where I would take him, but I think if I had the 12th pick, I would take him at that point, no doubt, and maybe a couple picks earlier. The other guy I wanted to talk about, let's see from last night. Now I'm kind of like I'm spacing. I'm sorry. I was looking at where'd he go? So sorry. I might have forgotten. That's just terrible. The good thing is the preseason. I'll look at these as like warm up shows, so I'll be a little more prepared.
Wait,
go the regular
while you're looking, I want to touch one more thing on Kawhi. If he's healthy and if he plays anything like that, I mean, we're talking about top 5 upside, and his current draft price right now is early second round. So. I think it's really smart that you're moving him into your first round. I'm not ready to move him like above guys like late in the first round. I've been pouncing on Damian Lillard quite a bit. I'm not ready to put him there. Although, I mean, no doubt in my mind, if he stays healthy, he's going to finish above Damian Lillard. So it does make sense. But I don't know, Neil. I'm just, I don't know, man. I don't know what to do.
I know this is hard to make. Okay, this is not the one I want to talk about, but this is someone else that came up. Danny Green. He was hurt in the offseason, and now he's back. He's probably gonna get the starting role at the 2 guard. It looks like in this offense. He took a ton of shots. Well, he took 9 shots, but he made 7 of them last night, so he got a ton of points. But he's always been a really good defensive player, kind of a sneaky late round pick. Gets you defensive stats. Gets you some rebounds for a shooting guard. Usually gets you like 2 or 3 3-pointers. Is he someone that you're drafting at all?
Man, it is really interesting that you asked me this question because when I was watching part of the Raptors game yesterday, he stood out to me. And I thought to myself, is everybody sleeping on Danny Green right now? Because he's just, in this preseason, from what I've seen, he's a really good fit on that team. As you said, plays really good defense, spaces the floor, is a good 3-point shooter. I think we might be sleeping on this guy. And I don't even know in standard leagues if he's even getting drafted at all. So, yeah, I think I'm really happy that you brought him up. He could be a really sneaky guy to get at the end of your draft. Threes are gold. Steals are gold. He can help you in both those categories. Slated to start at the shooting guard spot, as you said. Really interesting guy.
Okay, yeah, this is my last. This is the guy I want to talk about. Another buzz guy, Miles Turner. So I don't know if you watched. So because I'm here in Chicago, it was on TV last night. I watched some of this game. Turner only played 21 minutes, like a lot of the starters did not play many minutes. Turner looked terrible. I don't know if you saw him last night. Did not do anything statistically wise. Just 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 for 8, and a block. Is he still someone you're targeting in the 3rd and 4th round?
Man, another guy that, the preseason hasn't really helped him too much as far as what we've seen. And I'm a little scared about what happened last season, Neil, where everybody drafted him in round 2 and he returned like 60 round value or somewhere in the 60 round, in the 60th range, right? Or 70th range value. So, man, you know what's really interesting? Usually in the preseason, like, all these things become clear. This preseason's been the opposite for me. It's like put question marks on guys, or like it's clouded my judgment. It's clouded. I just talked to you now how like my plan is like not kind of falling apart. Look, I was really targeting Miles Turner coming into this preseason. I'll tell you what, I'm still gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. But I can understand the concern, especially from what happened last season. Especially we're seeing the emergence of Sabonis. They've added Tyreek Evans. Victor Oladipo has gotten better. So, it's not like this team's lacking talent. So he's got to compete with a lot of people on this team. So I understand the concern, Neil. Are you off of Miles Turner now?
Well, he wasn't someone I was targeting in the 3rd or 4th round. I like to go pretty safe, maybe the wrong. Well, that's the right word. I like to go safe the first few rounds and take guys that I can trust. So I won't take him in the first 4 rounds. And I think he'll be gone by the 5th round. So I don't think he'll be an option for me. So I'm off him this year. I actually wanted him last year, and I'm glad I didn't get him because, I would have been, he returned, what do you say, 60th round value? I think that's how it felt, I'm sure, for most owners. So all right. I'm ready to move on to tonight's games, unless there's anything else you want to talk about from Wednesday's night's slate.
We should probably move on to tonight. We're like 30 minutes in right now. We're just finally looking at tonight's game. But hey, I think it was really interesting to take a look at those guys from yesterday because, I don't know, man, just some really interesting stuff there. And then, all right, let's get into it. Why don't we start with the Raptors and the Pelicans? Since I believe that was the first game of the night. I'll start first. Let's start with the Raptors and oh man, no Leonard, no Ibaka, no Green, no Valanciunas, no Dwight Powell, no Van Vliet. I mean, should we even look at this game anymore? Siakam, 21 points, 4 steals, 6 assists, 11 rebounds. Yowzes, what a beast. 8 of 12 from the line. He shot a 3. He made a 3. Great game from him, but none of the starters played. So, I don't expect him to get this kind of usage regularly. Let's see. OG Anunoby, 15 points, 2 assists, a rebound. Played pretty well. Any thoughts here, Neil?
Yeah, this is like a scheduling quirk. I mean, Toronto had a back-to-back preseason, which is crazy, which I understand why no one played, or none of the starters played. And what's also crazy is they beat New Orleans, who started Davis for 31 minutes, and Holiday for 28, and Mirotic played, and Julius Randle played. And they lost. I don't understand this. I'm so confused. Is Toronto just really that good this year, or was New Orleans not taking it seriously? I don't know.
One of the really interesting things about Toronto that we saw last year was that their bench, it was one of the best benches in the league. In fact, when their second units were going up against other second units, they would pull away. And then some of their regular starters would just rest on the bench and not even get back in the game. And, they have one of the strongest benches in the NBA. We saw it tonight. But, Neil, why don't you take us in on the Pelicans side?
All right. On New Orleans, as I mentioned, Davis played 31 minutes, had a ridiculous line like he always does. 36 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals. There's no doubt in my mind he is the number one player in fantasy in any sort of format you're going for. Elfrid Payton played 25 minutes, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, no defensive stats. Etuan Moore, someone who plays a lot of minutes but really doesn't produce any fantasy value. Drew Holiday had a nice line. I think he's still 14 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals, and a block. I think he's in line for to do the same thing he did last year. I would take him late second round, early third round if he's still there. Nikola Mirotic, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, no steals. Someone that I was talking about today on our yesterday's show with Dan. I like him this year, but his stats have been shaded down a bit since last season. And then Randall had a good night. 20 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. But as usual, no defensive stats, no blocks, no steals. Julius Randle was someone who's interesting to me this year. He usually gets drafted really late. I didn't know what role he's going to carve out on this team. It looks like he's not starting. He looks like he'll be a 6th man. He's certainly going to share the court with both Mirotic and Davis in the front court. He's someone I'm probably not going to draft unless I really need rebounds and a score at the end. The unfortunate thing, it's really challenging to take a guy who's a big man who does not block, because blocks are so rare that I don't want a big man who can't block. So he's someone I stay away from. Really nothing new on this game, except maybe I'm going to bet the Pelicans under now since they lost it for the season win total. That's all I can take away. Your thoughts?
Yeah, not too much going on here. I want to touch a little bit on the Randall thing. I think at his draft price, which is like in those later middle rounds, I feel like he could be okay if you got blocks covered. Let's say you went centers pretty early in your draft, you got blocks covered. He's going to be a really nice scoring big. Should be pretty good too in like rebounds. He had 11 tonight. Also added 4 assists. So I think even if he comes off the bench, he's going to get minutes still in that like mid to high 20 range. And I think he could put up some nice numbers. So I understand if you guys want to take a shot on Randall for his draft price, which is like those later middle rounds. Other than that, not too much here. Let's move on to the next game, Neil.
All right. I've got Utah, Sacramento. Is the other one done yet? Do you know?
The other game, both games are still going. So, let's just look at this Jazz Kings game. And I think this one is still, I don't know what quarter it's in. Hang on. They're in the third quarter right now. But let's just take a glance and see what stands out here.
Yeah. I mean, the Jazz put in all their starters tonight. They shut down Sacramento. Sacramento scored 10 points in the first quarter. That's crazy. I know they're not a good team, but that's just really bad for an NBA team. Favors had a very good opening night, opening half, 11 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 of 6 from the field. Had some nice feeds where he just got dunks. I mean, he was just it looked too easy for him. Ingles, not much of a great night, 6-5-3 with 2 steals and a block. Gobert, beast, 18 points, 7 rebounds, a block and a steal. Rubio did get 5 assists tonight, but only 2 points, only 2 rebounds. Came back to earth and shooting, just 1 of 7. And Donovan Mitchell, someone that I know is near and dear to your heart. The heart wants what the heart wants. I'll never forget that. Donovan Mitchell, 13 points, 3 assists. you're still buying this guy in the second round, right? Is that true?
Yeah,
That's what I want to know out of Adrian.
yeah, okay, I'll be honest with you. The Lesters come off a little bit this preseason, but I'm still a big believer in Donovan Mitchell. I still want him. I think I told you previously on one of the other shows, though, if I'm drafting early in that second round, it is really difficult for me to pass on Paul George. And then I usually draft late in the second round where Donovan Mitchell's already gone. So far, I don't have any shares of Donovan Mitchell, but I got two big drafts coming up this weekend. I will own him in one of these leagues. So I'm still on the Donovan Mitchell train, although I want to say he's been a little hesitant because he's saving it for the regular season. That's what I'm going to say, Neil.
Here's the thing. I have him like a third round draft, but because I talked to you so much, if he's there in the late second round, I'm taking him just because you've got me hyped up on him. So I may end up with him too. Derek Favors is someone I've always kind of liked as a sneaky late round pick. I know his free throw percentage, is not good, and he's not really like a modern NBA player. So I'm worried about how his usage or how his minutes go this year. Although he seems to be, Quinn Snyder seems to really like him, and he seems to be starting there. So I think he's safe in terms of minutes. So I would take him in the late rounds if he's still available. No change in Gobert, still a third round pick for me. Ingles, mid to late round pick, or like a seventh round pick for me. Rubio, I'm avoiding this year. That's it for the Jazz. You want to head over to Sacramento? Oh, do you have any more thoughts on the Jazz?
Yeah, real quick, just want to say about Favors. I was always off Favors, and last year he actually won me over. Played really good next to Gobert, and I like that he came back to the Jazz this year. To me, it let me know that Utah, they liked what they saw from Favors playing next to Gobert, and they want to continue that. So I feel like Favors has the green light for me. And again, due to his past injuries and stuff, I always was kind of hesitant on him. He really won me over last year. A really good fit next to Gobert. I feel like they complement each other pretty well. And we're seeing it here tonight with he's got the double-double, and Gobert has got a great game going on too. So I love how the two of them can coexist. I think Favors is good to go for this season. All right, let me jump over to the Kings. Let's take a look what's going on here. Neil, a guy we've talked about before, he's doing it again, man. Willie Cauley-Stein, 16 points, 2 steals, 3 rebounds. He's doing this against Gobert. I'm ready to jump on board the Cauley-Stein train. I don't know if I'm overreacting. It is a preseason game, but I watched part of this game. He is going up against Gobert, so he's not doing this against McAvee Hyphy or something like that. But anyways, Buddy Hield, 7 points, 3 steals, 7 assists. But we like Buddy Hield this year. Draft him. De'Aaron Fox, pretty disappointing from him. 1 of 7 from the field. Ouch. This scares me a little. I own some shares of De'Aaron Fox for this season. So come on, man. And then Marvin Bagley, their rookie, looks really good here. 15 points, 8 rebounds. I said earlier I was watching this game. Connected really nice on a couple plays with Willie Cauley-Stein. He threw an alley-oop to Stein, who threw it down. I love seeing that chemistry between these two. So that was really nice. Neil, any thoughts on this team, man?
Well, I know last time we talked about how Cauley-Stein tends to go towards the end of drafts, and he's sometimes on a team, sometimes not. This year, he will stick. He's definitely gotten the minutes in every preseason game. These lineups have kind of been jerked around, and Jaeger's known to do that. But Cauley-Stein seems to be the one constant. So him and Hield. So I would, if you need a center late, for sure, I would think Cauley-Stein's someone you could grab and just see where he goes with that. So the shooting guard, last time we talked about maybe Frank Mason, getting a start there and being able to produce this year in fantasy. Tonight, Yogi Ferrell got the start as shooting guard. So what that tells me is I'm confused. And I don't know where, these guys are going to fit in besides Fox, Hield, and maybe Fox, Stein, and Hield, excuse me. And then Bagley, I would love to know that this is his role because I would take him for sure towards the end. He's not really getting drafted, I don't think, in too many. Or is he getting drafted?
No,
Do you know?
he does get drafted, but very late, like last 2 rounds. But yeah, I really like seeing this. I think they're gonna give Bagley good minutes because they want to show that they did not make a mistake. Neil, they had the number 2 overall pick and picked Bagley, and there was a lot of pressure on this organization to get this pick right. So I think they're gonna feel a lot of pressure for Bagley to do well, and they're gonna kind of force feed him. So yeah, it's really nice to see him having a nice game here.
So let me ask you a quick question now. Would you rather take Bagley or Cauley-Stein?
I'm probably going to lean Cauley-Stein only because I expect Cauley-Stein to maybe bring some defensive stats, I hope, where Bagley, I don't think the defensive stats are going to be there, which is why he's going so late in drafts. I think he's going to give you a double-double, points and rebounds, but he's not going to do too much else on the defensive side. So I would rather lean Cauley-Stein. Hey, I think Cauley-Stein's kind of playing with a chip on his shoulder because they drafted Bagley, Giles. There's been a lot of talk of Giles. They got Scal. I think Willie Cauley-Stein's like, man, you guys are forgetting about me. And I think we're going to see, I believe he's in a contract year. I think we're going to see a real motivated Cauley-Stein, and we're seeing it already in preseason. So, yeah, I'm on board now with the Cauley-Stein. He's won me over as like a late guy, a late pick guy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. At least I can't argue with you. I think he could be just fine this year. Do you have the international game? I'm sorry, I don't have the.
I got it. Let me jump in here. Los Angeles Clippers are playing a team. I apologize if I botch this. Maccabi Haifa, I believe, is the team. I believe you told me, Neil, it's an Israeli team.
I believe it's an Israeli. I could be wrong about that.
I hope we're not botching this, man. All of our international listeners right now are just like shaking their head, going, "Oh, these two American." Man. Anyways, let me jump into this. I'm going to just touch on the Clippers side. Gallinari, 12 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal, a block in 14 minutes. This game is just early in the third period here. So, what a great preseason Gallinari's had. A guy who's on my do not draft list due to the injury concern, but man, if you draft this guy late and if he stays healthy, guarantee you're going to get a steal. Guaranteed. Tobias Harris, 9 points, 2 steals, an assist, 2 rebounds. Tobias Harris is locked and loaded as the number 1 option on this team. Draft him. He's not really going at a good draft price. You still got to kind of pay a high price on him, but I love Tobias Harris, man. Let's see what else is going on here. Not too much else. Your boy Montrezl Harrell, 12 points off the bench, 4 rebounds in just 11 minutes. He's got a block. He's looked pretty good in the preseason, man. My fingers are crossed that Harrell can steal the starting gig away from Gortat at some point. I think he's the better guy at this point in Gortat's career. I think he's more athletic. He can bring more to this team. I got a close eye on Harrell. I haven't been drafting him quite yet, but I think at some point of this season, he's going to be a solid guy. All right, not too much else going on here. Any thoughts on the Clippers, Neil?
Yeah, this one's hard to read. Like you said, they're playing international teams, so take everything with a grain of salt. I do agree with you. Gallinari is someone who he's tough to draft because there's an expectation he's not going to be playing much of the season. He looks great so far. You may only have him for a week or a month or half the season, but whenever he does play, he is very valuable. So take him at the end of your draft if he's still there. Are you worried at all about Jimmy Butler being traded there and ruining Tobias's fantasy value, or is that just too much to try to bank in at this point?
Yeah, it's not enough to scare me off Tobias where I won't draft him. And also I'm kind of curious if Jimmy gets moved there, would Tobias be involved in that trade? I don't know, man. There's a lot of question marks. Now, I am hearing some buzz that Clippers are working on a deal to free up some of that log jam they got going on in that backcourt. And I would love to see that because they got some real talented guys like Avery Bradley, Pat Beverly, their rookie Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I would love to see these guys get freed up. So my fingers are crossed that the Clippers make some kind of move. But yeah, I'm not scared off of Tobias Harris. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, I think it's probably too much. We have no idea where Jimmy's going to end up, if he's going to end up anywhere. So you have to just I think it's as reasonable that he ends up in LA as anywhere else, even though that's one of his teams he wants to go to. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would still take Tobias. I'm not as big on Tobias as some people are this year, but I think he's a safe pick in like the 4th round if he's still available. And then Harrell, I want to comment. I think he may not come out of the gate starting, like you said, but I think at some point he may take over. And even off the bench, I think he's going to be good in rebounds, decent blocker, good field goal percentage. And then if he gets a starting role, I think he'll be a 100 guy. So not going to be a high upside guy, but someone who can be pretty decent in fantasy leagues. Above, I won't say decent, but sometimes it's hard to get good centers at the end, like we talked about. He could be one of those guys that you get at the end and it's just fine in that center spot. So that's all I've got. We got anything else to talk about?
Neil, it was a 3-game night. I thought we were going to talk for like 20 minutes. We're going over 50 minutes right now. So, hey, it's Friday. Let's go big, man. Neil, you guys, we got to remind you guys, go get the Hoop Ball Draft Guide. We have drafts this weekend. I know you listeners probably have drafts this weekend. I'm bringing the rankings with me to my draft. I'm bringing the B150 with me. Neil, how are you preparing for your draft, man?
Man, I am just going to draft Mitchell, JJJ, anyone else you are pumped. Cauley Stein. I've got my rotation set. Certainly going to utilize everything I've got from Hoop Ball to prepare for the draft. Oh, by the way, I have a coupon code, my own coupon code. It's my first name, Neil, Neil. If you are buying a draft guide and you want a discount, I think it's 20% off. Put in those 4 letters and you will get that discount.
Hey, keep this on the deal. I'm not supposed to say this. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. There's a contest going on. Who can get the most goals? Let's get Neil up there, man. Use his code NEIL Neil. And don't tell Dan that I told you guys that there's a contest. All right, you guys.
Yeah, and Dan doesn't listen to this, so there's no worries about that. So we're fine.
All right, you guys. Hit us up on Twitter. Please follow us on Twitter, guys. Neil is at Ball with Neil. I'm at Adrian Benjamins. It's been, man, Neil, I love connecting with the listeners on Twitter. They're so excited for the season. They're enthusiastic. I love the questions, man. It's so fun to talk to them. Hit us up, please, you guys. And good luck on your drafts this weekend. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Neil, then when I talk to you next week, Neil, it's gonna be regular season, man. We're gonna have real games on. I'm so excited. Are you excited, Neil?
I cannot wait. This is my favorite time of the year, the anticipation of who I'm going to take. And then I take them and then I drop half my team. But anyway, I'm so excited to get started and see how this turns out this year. So yeah, I can't wait. Oh yeah. And definitely on Twitter, especially as we do this box score breakdown, we're trying to find guys that you should add right away or perhaps aren't performing. And maybe you have some questions about that. Let us know, like, as the games are happening on Twitter. And if we can't get to you on Twitter, we'll get them back to you on the show.
Yeah, I always try to post some type of analysis, like as I'm seeing stuff happen during games. I'll like try to tweet some stuff if I find it interesting. So maybe you guys will find it interesting too. So follow us on Twitter, you guys. We'll try to be interesting. All right, you guys. It's been a great week. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.